Welcome to Compassion in a T-shirt. Today we're going to dive into a subject that's close to my heart and increasingly vital in our modern world: spreading the word of compassion. Specifically, how can we introduce compassion and self-compassion to others? It's not always easy. Some people might seem reluctant, resistant, or simply uninterested. But it's in these very difficult times of apparent division and acrimony that compassion is needed most. Hi, I'm Dr. Steindl. I'd like to share with you ways we can foster a more compassionate world, both for ourselves and for others, and how to respond to potential resistances. So let's begin by understanding what compassion truly is. Compassion is a deep awareness of the suffering of others, coupled with the wish and motivation to relieve it. There are these two aspects or processes: compassionate engagement and compassionate action. It's a fundamental aspect of our humanity, an essential part of our evolutionary heritage. However, in today's fast-paced, often disconnected, and sometimes divided society, it's easy to lose sight of this innate quality. Self-compassion is, of course, as simple, though challenging, as offering that same compassionate engagement and action to ourselves. It involves being validating, reassuring, supportive, and encouraging to ourselves when we suffer, fail, or feel inadequate. Instead of mercilessly judging and criticizing ourselves, we relate to ourselves with care and compassion, recognizing that we have tricky, evolved brains, that we quite naturally experience anxiety, anger, vulnerability, and self-consciousness, and that suffering is a part of life and a shared human experience. Now, you might wonder, why would anyone resist compassion? Well, there are several reasons. Some people equate compassion with weakness. Others might fear that being compassionate means they'll be taken advantage of. And then there's a simple lack of understanding about what compassion truly involves. So, how do we overcome these blocks? Here are some strategies. Model compassion. Be a living example of compassion in action. Show kindness, patience, and understanding in your interactions. Volunteer. Take part in fundraising efforts. Fight for a cause. When people see the positive impact compassion has on your life and the life of others, they may be more open to embracing it themselves. Education and awareness. Share knowledge about the science and benefits of compassion. Research shows that compassion, including self-compassion, improves mental and physical health, enhances relationships, and fosters overall well-being. And there's a twofold benefit. Both the giver and the receiver benefit from compassion. When people understand the tangible benefits, they're more likely to be interested. Personal stories. Share stories of compassion and self-compassion, including your own. Personal narratives can be powerful tools for illustrating the impact of compassion. They make abstract concepts real and relatable. Check out my TEDx talk, Compassion: Lessons from My Daughter. Practice together. Encourage group activities that foster compassion, such as mindfulness meditation, compassionate listening exercises, or community service projects. Invite people along to give it a try. Shared experiences, especially in small steps, can build a sense of connection and mutual understanding. Address misconceptions. Gently challenge misconceptions about compassion. Explain that compassion isn't about being a doormat or ignoring your own needs. It's about finding a balance between caring for others and caring for yourself. This is the key. Balancing compassion and self-compassion both lights the flame in others while keeping our own flame shining brightly. Introducing self-compassion can be equally challenging. People worry that self-compassion is self-indulgent or too much like self-pity, or they feel like they should be tough on themselves in order to stay motivated, even though they perhaps wouldn't take that approach with others. It's tricky. People can have these fears and blocks to self-compassion. But here are some effective approaches. Start small, get comfortable. Sometimes it can be really helpful to start with taking small steps towards being compassionate towards ourselves. For example, we might take brief self-compassion breaks in the day, brief little moments of self-care and self-kindness. Or perhaps we start with posing self-compassion directed questions to ourselves. What is it that I really need right now? What would be most helpful in this situation? Or perhaps we can start with little self-compassionate gestures, pausing for 3 compassionate breaths, placing a hand over our own heart, or offering ourselves a smile and a nod in the mirror at the start of a busy day. Compassionate writing. Encourage people to write about their difficult experiences and respond to themselves with compassion in the writing. A really helpful practice is to write a compassionate letter to ourselves. We want to try to develop compassionate self-relating or inner dialogue. Writing can help with this, especially when we write down our compassionate thoughts and then read them back to ourselves, perhaps even out loud with a warm, friendly voice tone. Learn about self-compassion techniques. There are many approaches out there available to help us gradually develop the motivation and skills of self-compassion. Compassion-focused therapy, mindful self-compassion, loving kindness meditations, and others offer very practical and usable tips and tricks for cultivating more compassion towards ourselves. To truly foster a compassionate society, we need to integrate compassion into various aspects of life. Education systems, implementing social emotional learning programs that teach children about empathy, care, wisdom, strength and courage and self-compassion from an early age. Workplaces, creating compassionate workplace cultures where employees feel valued, supported and connected. This includes leadership training focused on emotional and social awareness and understanding, and compassionate management practices. Healthcare, integrating compassion-focused approaches in healthcare settings to improve patient outcomes and support healthcare professionals' well-being. I mentioned earlier compassion-focused therapy, developed by Professor Paul Gilbert. CFT is an evidence-based approach that aims to help people develop and apply compassion for themselves and others. In fact, there are 3 flows of compassion: being compassionate towards others, being compassionate towards ourselves, and being open to receiving compassion from others. This last one can be tricky too. Most of us feel much more comfortable being the helper than being the one receiving help. And yet, being open to receiving compassion from others is highly correlated with psychological well-being. It takes a lot of courage, but when we let people in to help us, it can have powerfully positive effects. One of the most beautiful things about compassion is its ripple effect. When we act with compassion, it not only benefits the receiver, but also enhances our own well-being and can inspire those around us to act similarly. It's a powerful, positive cycle that can transform communities in a world that often feels divided and adversarial. Compassion is the bridge that can bring us together. By modeling compassion, educating others, and fostering compassionate practices, we can create a more empathic, kind, and connected society. So let's wear our compassion proudly, like a t-shirt, maybe even literally, and spread the word far and wide. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, every act of compassion counts. Let's make a difference, one compassionate act at a time.